£60 a month for 4 years. That is roughly what YouTube was paying me before my channel took off. And it's the real reason why so many people end up quitting before they ever see success. And if you're a movement teacher right now, staring at your analytics, wondering if any of this is going anywhere, here's what you actually need to know. Most people quit because they're only looking at the money. But there are a few things you can focus on instead that have nothing to do with the money right now and everything to do with preparing you to get to where you want to be. Here is what they are. The first thing is evolving your communication. Go back and watch your old classes and actually notice the things you are saying, right? Do you come across as competent and confident? Are you clear? Do you have any bad habits or any crutch words? For example, one of mine used to be announcing things before I actually gave a cue. And what I realized is it was very jarring for people to constantly hear me saying, and now we're going to, and now we're going to. As the instructor, you need to give commands, not previews, right? Everything you say should be something people can just follow. It shouldn't be something that they're filtering out until you say the thing that they actually need to pay attention to, right? When you go back and you review your cues, you understand what you need to strip back and how you can be more intentional, because you don't need to fill every silence. What you're aiming for is to get to the place where you can say the bare minimum and know that that was enough because you have complete confidence in what you have said. Another thing to pay attention here is your comments section. If people are asking you, what do you mean by that? Take note. It usually means that something that you said hasn't landed and you need to find a better way to say it. Colloquialisms are a big problem for this. You know, phrases that make sense where you're from can mean nothing to someone on the other side of the world. And when you're teaching on YouTube, you have to think about the worldwide audience. Not everyone watching is a native English speaker, so you have to whittle everything down to the simplest possible way of saying it so that it actually makes sense to everybody. So go and watch your own classes back and ask yourself, what bad habits do I have? You know, am I announcing or am I directing? Am I speaking in a way that only makes sense to me and those around me? Or could a stranger on the other side of the world understand this, especially if they're not a native English speaker? If you close that gap, that is where real progress lies instead of just focusing on the money. Now, the second thing to prioritize is your production. And I'm not about to tell you to go out and buy the fanciest camera equipment, but what I will give you is a simple tip to get the most out of what you have. Now, if you're in a space that has consistent lighting, you can leave your settings on auto. That will handle the color and the exposure. But the one thing I'd actually prioritize is focus, and that's manual focus over autofocus. Because autofocus is great if you're sat and you're not moving, but in a movement class, you are going to be moving a lot, and it's very difficult for your camera to keep track of you when you're moving all over the place, and you'll end up with half a class that's blurry. So one trick I use to master manual focus is to place a book on my mat and then use the focus dial to get the words on the cover sharp. Once that's done, I leave it. I don't have to do anything else because I know that focus is not going to change and I don't need to worry about blurry footage. That is one of the simplest ways to improve the quality, especially if you pair it with creating space, like distance between you and your backdrop. Minimum 1 to 2 meters will give you more of that background blur that looks immediately cinematic. Now, that's just one tip that I have, but I'm building out an entire YouTube course to give you all of these tips so that you can master your video production, because there's so much that we can go into. If you want to be the first to know when that's out, the link is in the description to join the mailing list. Now, the third thing here is understanding your audience. Do you actually know who you're creating for and what they want, right? You may assume that your ideas are the best, but from what I've realized, the best ideas come from the comment section. They come from what other people are asking. One of my most popular videos came from a question from a lady who asked how she could modify because she was more well endowed. So I made a video breaking down the different modifications, and it went off because so many women were saying versions of like, finally, thank you. I feel like you read my mind. It was a question so many women had been asking and were actively looking for an answer to, yet no one was making. I never could have come up with that idea on my own until I went to the comment section. Now, that is what it looks like to create based on what people actually want instead of what you assume. So if you're just making what feels good to you right now with no research into what people are actually asking for, that is the thing you need to go and focus on next. Like, go and actually read your comments, not just to reply to people, but to notice the questions that keep coming up. Now, the fourth thing is your process, because a lot of the actual work on YouTube happens off YouTube, right? I remember my first 30-day challenge that I ever filmed. I was so unorganized. I was filming and editing the videos on the day that I was posting them. There was no pre-planning. Nothing was done ahead of time, and it was completely slapdash and so stressful. I compare that to nowadays, where if I'm making something like that, it is filmed months ahead of time, edited, promoted, so that by the time it actually launches, I am sat there relaxed, sipping a cup of tea, having a good time. Now, that shift from scrambling to having months of runway so that I can rest is the result of learning the hard way that planning ahead isn't optional if you want to win on YouTube, right? Notice if your process has gotten calmer, or if there are opportunities for you to improve the systems that you have in place to be more consistent. Even if nobody watching you could ever see the work that you produce, how can you still make it easier on yourself to produce the work that you are doing? Now, these are the things to actually focus on, not because they're consolation prizes for not making money on YouTube yet, but because they're what eventually get you there. I did all of this without a mentor. Nobody showed me any of this. I worked this out the hard way over 4 years, mostly by getting it wrong first. That is why it took me as long as it did. And it's also why I'm building a YouTube course for movement teachers now. It's not to hand you a shortcut that skips the work. It is to help you overcome and bypass these mistakes and to give you a helping hand to actually win on YouTube instead of trying to figure it out on your own. If you want to be the first to know when it launches, just click the link in the description to get on the mailing list.